Thank you so much for inviting us to share our views on the topic that you guys have selected today. Being an auditor, I would say that the role of an auditor definitely it has changed with the change in the overall, the digitized world. The world has transformed with the inclusion of the digitization and advancement in overall the processes has been changed, and the way of the work we do earlier has been changed. So if I would focus on the like current situation that we are going through, that is pandemic, it's like I myself face the challenges, arose due to the COVID-19. It has limit us. It has like restrict us to perform the audit without the field visits, which we never thought to do, earlier. Like without field visits, we would. It's always a risk. It's an audit risk, a risk of the insufficient evidence. The walkthroughs would be incomplete. The understanding of the process would be like I would say a question mark. So it has definitely changed. We need to bring the agility, I would say, with all such changes, and that pandemic has like put us in a situation where we need to rethink the approaches that we were using before to perform the audits. So it has actually like with this pandemic, it like the biggest challenge it brought on our tables is that the scope limitation it has increased. There, the I would say the support from the management is like has been increased. Like we have to build good relations with the management in a way that they would assist or support the audit in a better manner, by not like hiding the evidences, by disclosing the information if they really want to to conduct the audit in a better manner. So that I would say, and then definitely the due to the this inclusion of the digitization, it has like changed the role of I would say a 360 degrees. We have to rely more and more on the digitized approaches. The technology, our dependency on the technology has increased, so we have to be more vigilant, robust in terms of gaining the knowledge of the new technology that is going to be implemented in our organizations or at our clients if we are the external auditors. So we have to be more agile, I would say. So this is all from my end.
Thank you. And I totally agree with you, Padma. You raised an absolute valid point, which is that now the technology is part of the business landscape more and more. The auditor now has to be cognizant of this fact and has to have a good understanding of these technologies, of these software, which are now, at the core of business, at the core of the way organization works, and to be effective at to be effective at auditing, the auditors now have to be very aware and very cognizant of this. And that's a very good point which you raised, Wes. And as you rightly mentioned, that the role of the auditor the auditor is now faced with newer challenges and more complexity while performing their role. Keeping this in mind, how important do you think is digital transformation in the field of audit? How important is it to digitally transform the audit process end to end, given these challenges, given these difficulties which the present day now presents? So, how important do you think the role of digital transformation is?
The digital transformation, if you are saying that, there's not a noble concept that you need to digitize your business processes and this whole module development and everything. So this is very essential because it could create some uniformity and standardization in our working, and also the digitization would also would solve the input output ratio. It would avoid the duplication of efforts. and also the record keeping would be more robust because the digital signature and everything. Uh, it also, resolve that issue that the record keeping would be a nuisance. So, because a digital record is more easy to be kept safe, and also is that because the digital record never erased. So it is very convenient that whenever a record is deleted, and I think it can be expected. So these kinds of advantages actually are forcing the organization to digitize or to go for an IT solution for their business process. Same is Original of Pakistan. It's a huge organization, supreme audit institution. We perform multiple types of audits, but transforming all those business processes into a specific business solution is also a challenge. But in these scenarios, we have no option.
Got it. So, Aware, so I think you got muted there. Do we? Would you like to? Is there any points that you'd like to cover, um, was that it?
No, I think I would wrap it up. I have covered all the aspect which was pertaining to the digitization process. Uh, the journey starts in the original of Pakistan on 18th of February, and we have been successful in implementing the pilot site, and also configuring the basic framework of how this digital transformation would help us. So what we are seeing that and what we are trying to achieve in the near future is obviously is the level of assurance, the level of transparency of business process, so that the stakeholders would have confidence on our system, would have confidence that the whole audit exercise would contribute in sound financial management. So these kinds of goals we are hoping to achieve through this.
Very rightly said, Wes, and I'll take your last point there, that this system is allowing for all the stakeholders to have greater confidence within the auditing process, and just let I let the audience just ponder over this, that how technology is playing a role in instilling confidence. So, Fatma, I'd like to pose the same question to you. That since you've already gone through such a disruption within your department as well, so how important is digital transformation for you? In the field of internal audit.
Yeah, I agree with Vas as he pointed out almost all the concerns that we had, or any organization had before going into the digitization of their own processes. But in a bank, as I talk with respect to the industry in which we have actually digitized this process, is that the industry in which I am working or we are working is like it's in digitization world, it is like going like on a speed of a rocket. Every day you would hear that they brought a new technology, and financial services are at the boom. So we have to catch that pace. It's really challenging for us to be with them, to I would say to run with them. For an internal audit is always a challenge. Although we always try to cope with the new technologies, that how to ensure the give assurance on the efficiency or the effectiveness of that technology or the investment that is made by the bank. But to digitize ourselves is like another big, I would say, the challenge. But our regulatory body, they have actually made our that challenge easy by publishing the regulation where we are about to be digitized, we are about to digitize our processes so that we'll be able to be more robust, more vigilant, and be efficient and effective in whatever the services we are providing to the to the board or to the organization. So definitely, either it would be a SAP or any automation that any organization would do. The major concerns would be to be with the pace, and to give more effective and efficient services. Either it would be internal audit, or either it would be any operation department, or any other department. So with this, I would say, if I just specifically talk about the internal audit, then definitely it is helping, and it will help us to be more effective for the organization. And tracking would be easy, recording would be easy. The process flow that we were earlier doing manually, and anytime there was a challenge, that it could like break up at any layer. So it is like intact. We have audit activity trail of any auditor, or the auditee. And it's an end-to-end process. Earlier what we were doing the audit activity in chunks. Half of the process was with us, the follow-up was with another department. So it was always difficult for both for both the departments to be on the same page. And definitely the representation to the board, to the back, our board committee is like, it is going to be, and it would be more effective. We'll be able to give them a better picture of the audit activities that we are working. And the I would say that with the automation in our departments, not only the process automation, but I would say we have to be like rely more and more on the big data. We have to automate our data analysis tools by including more and robust technology. We Earlier we were like using the SQL and other database tools, which were helping us. And but I'm sure with the help of this SAP, it would add more in data analysis area. And it will definitely help us to dig down more into the details, more data, more row level, cell level, and help the organization in a better manner.
I would respond in respect of this statement also. She's rightly pointing out. One aspect which is, I think, I need to more emphasize is that the lateral extension of audit activities with the advent of regulatory bodies. Now there are different more disciplines in which audit is being conducted, like AML, anti-money laundering, and terror financing, also health quality or quality audits and everything. So the basic fundamental principles have extended. Now, what is big data and how it is being used, and how it is so much important, because with the advent of some regulatory mechanism, it is the job of every organization to sort out any suspicious transaction and report it to the uh, concerned regulatory authority. In that case, State Bank of Pakistan and everything. So this is also a kind of audit, anti-money laundering. You have to sort, and you have to make a risk register on the basis of customer, client, geography, and the channel of the transactions, and then you have to report. So you have to deal with data on a daily basis, and the audit is now no more a secluded activity. It is the part of governance.
Definitely, definitely, Wes. That is again a very good point, and I absolutely agree with you that audit is no longer a secluded function. It has to be. It is now, part of the organization fabric as a whole. It has to be now in order to survive in the current, in the current landscape. It has to be so that audit is as strong a part of the organization, just as your finance and your other core business functions. Now audit has the same, it has to be the same, it has to be ingrained in the DNA of the business. So fully agree with you. And now taking this point further, um, with my limited knowledge of audit, um, it is said that because in an audit there's an auditor and there's an auditee. The auditee can be a person, the auditee can be an organization. Uh, it is it is said that when an auditee feels part of the process, that is when the process of internal audit or the process of audit starts to yield the best results. Is when the auditee also feels feels included. So how important do you think that is, and why audit systems should actually help you in this particular aspect, that the auditee also feels included, and why is it so helpful? So, Wes, I'd like to start this off with you. That what is your take on this?
I think you have raised a very pertinent point, and this is the basic criticism which we are facing with respect of the business process of original Pakistan. The stakeholders are arguing that majority of the audit paras are just pointing out the procedural inconsistencies, and they are not contributing to sound financial management. So the involvement of the stakeholders, because and also the expectation of stakeholders is that the audit should point out those business weaknesses which would contribute to the sound financial management. For example, if we are conducting an audit of a hospital, or for example, we are conducting an audit of a financial transactions, the nature of financial transactions or the nature of audit shall be very specialized in nature, and we are turning it as thematic audit themes. In health sector, if we are raising observations that there are so many irregularities in the payroll, or there are so many irregularities in some contracts, that doesn't suffice the purpose. We need to, point out that the hospital is not fulfilling the requirement of minimum service delivery standards, which is set up by Punjab Healthcare Commission. So the auditor, while conducting audit of some specialized field, needs to have specialized knowledge. And also, if we are conducting an audit of a bank, so any commentary which is not there on the AML, CFT, anti-money laundering and counter financial terrorism mechanisms, and the governance risk and compliance, and we have raised observations. We actually do perform audits of National Bank and the State Bank of Pakistan. So the Public Accounts Committee or the stakeholder would expect that the original of Pakistan would perform some commentary with respect of compliance and with respect to rules and regulations. So the criticism is that the observation should not be for the procedural in nature, or should be for routine and everything. It should point out the deficiency so that government should focus on the exact risk areas and would get the benefit of performing this huge activity, which is actually having its a financial cost attributed to the whole audit activity. So if and also is that any audit activity, if it is raising audit observation, it would have some aspect of revenue generation. We have to justify that we have incurred so much cost, and this cost is attributed to this much process improvement, and we have actually contributed to a sound financial management, and government is now more efficient and revenue has increased. So these kinds of aspects is the observations should be observation is not only should be, is actually being viewed in these perspectives. The performance evaluation of the auditor is being conducted on each forum. So that is why a solution like big data analysis and internal control and governance, risk and compliance, and these kinds of solutions are needed in audit, because audit cannot be focused on routine procedures. It should lead to process improvement and in efficient, sound, and professional financial management.
Very true. Thank you, Wes, for that valuable input. Fatma, I'd like to pose the same question to you. Again, how do you envision your AMIS would help you in involving the auditee as well in the process? Because that is when I believe that is when the real benefit of the entire audit cycle really comes to show, when the entire organization is feels a part of the audit and knows the purpose, and so the exact required output can be extracted.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are. either it's like even before the automation of the audit processes, it is the the requirement of audit process that we are supposed to engage the auditee. But as Avas also highlighted, that if the processes are not like intact or automated, or the auditor himself or herself would engage into the manual processing of the audit process, I'm sure that most of the activity that which actually auditors are supposed to do to bring value to the in that audit would like somehow it's gonna missed, or somehow ignored it, or just engaging ourselves into that process would somehow it would be like left behind. So with this automation, we are actually engaging the person, the auditee, since inception, and the system helps us to track it since the inception of any activity until the closure of the audit. Either it would be like we are assigning the new activity to the auditee. He or she is like well aware of the activity that is being taken up by the audit department. And one of the important thing that the automation would bring is like he or she would be like more accountable, or they will take the ownership of that activity that is going on in his or her department, because he or she is engaged since inception, and the system is well keep him on the track until the finding or the observation is like it's going to be closed by the compliance follow-up process. So auditees engagement is definitely important, and this this automation is helping us to ensure that engagement in the whole audit life cycle.
Great, great. And again, fully agreed. Fatma, as a follow-up, I'd like to ask you that let's say an organization decides that we're going to digitalize our audit function. We're going to implement an audit management information system at our organization. What advice would you give them on in helping them position themselves for best chances of success? What advice would you give that particular organization right now?
Yeah, I would say that as the audit profession, we do follow some sort of a standards. Either it will be IIA or our regulatory regulations, or the guidelines. We have to first understand that. What is the gap between the existing processes that we are following, and what are these standard bodies are advising us. Either it would be an IIA, either it would be ACPAC, either it would be a regulatory body. We have to first identify the gap. Then to fill that, we have to definitely the in selection process should be of the any product should be very detailed. We have to know that what exactly we are acquiring, what are our requirements, how we are gonna fill the gap between what we are doing now and what our standards are asking from us, or they are expecting from the audit profession. And then the selection process should be very transparent, I would say, by engaging all the stakeholders whoever we are supposed to engage in the audit cycle. Either it would be the IT department, our senior management, our auditees, our risk department, our compliance department, to ensure that regulatory requirements are fulfilled since the inception of the project that we are going to take implement. And the risk department is very important. Information security, that we have to make sure that whatever the product or whatever the a new project we are going to do, include in our organization, should be like vulnerable free, threat free, risks are well, addressed. So we have to engage the stakeholders in selection, since the selection of the product, I would say. Then definitely the due diligence of the vendors or the implementing partners is very important for all the organization, I would say. That is, I think, again, the very common and the best practices of the any procurement process that is, it's happening in any organization. And the again, the project planning, once we select the product by, fulfilling all the due diligence and the detailed working with which we are acquired, then the project management, once the selection is done, your project management team needs to be well aware of what are the requirements are, how we are going to implement the timelines, needs to be very, well understood and well, it should be given a proper thought prior to define the timelines or sharing with the board. The BPOs is the engagement of the BPOs, because if we talk about internal audit, we do have like area leads, like in an organization like ours, we have branch audits. We are most of the chunk of the audit activity is like our branch auditing. So the branch leads, the BPOs, the business process owners needs to be engaged since inception, because the ownership needs to be, completely shared among all the BPOs, so that the ownership of the product should be completely owned by the organization, either it be a internal audit, or it be a senior management, or it be a our partners, that is IT department. It should be fully shared. And senior management engagement is very important. We have to give them the oversight of the project. If you guys feel that there are pain areas, there are any bottlenecks, that identification of these pain areas and bottlenecks should be shared with the senior management for the timely, guidance, timely resolutions and of those pain areas. The relationship with the vendor is also very important. What relationship we have with the vendors, those who are implementing the project, that is very important. Because this project is not only the any organization who has actually purchased. No, vendors are equally, I would say, the partner in that overall the project implementation plan. So these are the areas where we need to focus on. I think say beforehand, before the project is going to be implemented, and we need to be intact with our standards. I mean, that is very important, that the audit professional who our standards should be like completely intact and incorporated in that application. So these are a few points which I want to advise.
Valuable advice. Thank you, Fatma. Aves, same question to you. What advice would you give to any organization, any that has decided to start this journey?
Well, Shahab, it is very interesting that you asked this question, and you and me are part of this process. So I would say, by virtue of our experience, I would say, first of all, there should be proper site assessment. You should have, complete cognizance of what you want. The software cannot solve all your problems. You cannot be living in a utopia that whenever a software would come, then the whole procedure would be very transparent. So you have to first, recognize or anticipate that what this digitalization would do, and what you are trying to achieve from this process. And another thing is that digitalization or the digital solution is just one aspect. It has to be supplemented by a proper change management plan, because people would have lots of inertia, and they would not be ready to move from manual processes to digital processes. So first of all, site assessment, that what kind of infrastructure, what kind of requirements you would need before moving to the digitalization. The other thing is change management process. And the other thing is that, the proper change management plan or the business process, re-engineering should be supplemented with the project. And also is that with the project, you cannot go without the infrastructure without deliverables being sorted out. You cannot initiate a pilot without sorting out the small deliverables. You cannot rely on a large data. You have to prioritize that. Okay, we are going to achieve this target, this deliverable. Then we are going to achieve this deliverable, and then also analyze the data. If you are not achieving a particular deliverable, maybe your design is faulty one. And she has rightly pointed out, the lady from Khushhali Bank, that the business process owners, the stakeholders involvement. So it is, digitization is one aspect. It is more psychological change. It is more acceptance change. It is more the involvement of the stakeholders, involvement of the business process owner, because it's a very cumbersome process. No software in the world, or no digital software, or no, it cannot could go without customization, without configuration. But having said so, you have to be very patient that no solution can be a panacea for all ills. So you have to sort out that what you are going to achieve, or what problems you are going to solve with the digital solution. There can't be a solution which would provide you or which could cure you from the all the ills. So you have to be very patient, and also you have to be very patient of the fact that there would be some disappointment also. Maybe you have procured a software and it is now not fulfilling all the requirements, but you have to see the bigger picture, that okay, where we are failing. Are we better off with the digital solution, or we were having more efficiency on the manual system? So this site assessment, this reality check should be the one. And obviously what I have emphasized again and again, a proper change management plan, change management strategy, and involving the stakeholders, and analyzing the data and improving the project phases in accordance with the data analyzed.
Again, very well pointed out. Managing expectations and looking at the big picture is also very important. Very well said, Avais, and fully agreed with that point. Very important for everybody to understand, how this particular software or how this fits in to the larger plan, to the grander scheme. So again, valuable insight. So my next question, Avais, is specifically, I'd like your input on this. That how are digital initiatives within the Auditor General of Pakistan, like the AMIS implementation, how are they playing, or how are they envisioned to play a critical role in being the auditor of the government, 10 years down the line? So how important is this? So, and how is it going to help you in your role to become, the auditor, the Supreme Auditor Institute of, tomorrow? So, like your input on this.
Any audit activity also plays a role in the advisory aspect. So the Auditor General of Pakistan is expected to raise paras in which government exchequer should be utilized in a proper manner. These kinds of. So what we are anticipating from this system, first of all, we are standardizing our audit procedures. So there would be no audit or no audit activity or an auditor who would be, would be violating those procedures. We are saying that the system should have inherent controls, that the audit activities should follow a process. So standardization of the audit procedures is the main goal, and the quality of audit needs to be, improved by adoption of this process. The other thing is that use of analytical tool. We are continuously engaged with usage of Lumira management information system, in which we can value add, and also we are going to point out the risk involved in the planning, risk involved in the execution, risk involved in the reporting phase. Having the standardized checklist, having also supervision, more supervision on the auditor, more supervision, so that the redundancy would be eliminated. So we are also looking out that this, after the implementation of this software, we are going to sort out the redundant process. We are going to improve our business processes. We are going to standardize our procedures, and also we are going to remove the tag that original office audit is inferior to a chartered accountant firm in everything, because every auditor would be following a procedure, and it is aligned with the international standard of auditing. We have made sure that the business processes are aligned with the financial audit manual, which is in link with the InterSci auditing standards, which we follow in the public sector. So we are actually utilizing this software to fulfill these specific objectives. So 10 years down the line, we are hoping that the original of Pakistan would be in a state of complete transformation from a generalist approach to risk-based audit, from a generalist approach to thematic audits, and also it would the auditors would we have actually initiated a PC1 project with respect to this AMIs. We are focusing on providing requisite training to our auditors so that they would have they would utilize this software fully by improving their capabilities, by improving their skills. So, Original of Pakistan is looking itself to contribute greatly in sound financial management, and also a concept budget participatory audit, participatory observatory, and also citizen participatory audit. It has also launched from the platform of citizen participatory portal. So we are looking towards an audit process which is more participative, which is more transparent, which is standardized, and which is more specialized in nature.
Great, great. And that is so great insight into how the AGP is looking at its roadmap for the next 10 years, and how digital initiatives like the AMIS implementation are playing a vital role in achieving the objectives which Mr. S just highlighted. The key takeaways, if I just take away from the session, are that now audit is extremely important and is as important as any critical business function, because how the business landscape has changed. And we talk about climate change, we talk about newer regulation coming in, talking about the green economy. Now accountability is paramount. Governments, the government of Pakistan included, governments around the world, they're all now holding themselves more accountable. Business organizations, we're now hearing about organizations, big tech companies moving towards net zero emissions. They're working towards lowering their carbon footprint. They're working towards making their business processes more ethical. When we talk about FMCGs, they are now concerned about where they're sourcing their goods from. So keeping all these factors and the way in which the economy is moving, the world is moving, internal audit and audit function as a whole now has to be at the center of things and has to be an advisor, moving forward. So thank you. I'd like to thank all the people who've joined in on this webinar, and I'd like to thank our esteemed panel. I'd like to thank Fatma. I'd like to thank Aves for giving us their valuable time and shedding the light on these very key and very crucial questions. So with that, I'd like to conclude this session. Hopefully it was informative for everyone. So with that, I'd like to conclude it. Thank you all for joining, and hope to catch you in the next one. Okay, thank you, everyone.